these kids a hotline that they could call if they had trouble with the sponsor family that they were put with, and you're saying that 65,000 calls to this hotline designated to protect these kids went unanswered? Is that what you're telling this committee?
Yes, sir.
And so the Biden administration lost track of 300,000 people, children, all right? Probably lost track of millions of other people, migrants, you know, in the United States as they were being trafficked all around. Some indentured servants, the children indentured servants, and even worse, in sex trade, all done on purpose. That has to be one of the biggest scandals in American history. And that's why my colleagues on the other side are running for the hills. But you can run, but you can't hide.
It's a pipeline. Experts reveal how taxpayer-funded NGOs facilitated human trafficking, profited from Biden-Harris border crisis that they facilitated. Homeland.house.gov. So even their statement's not strong enough. No, the human trafficking they ran and then profited from. Details, a full committee briefing entitled An Inside Job, How NGOs Facilitated the Biden Border Crisis. They put out a preliminary report. All this is documented from Homeland Security numbers. Here's an excerpt of some of what was in the hearing that we should be talking about.
So you're telling this committee that the Biden administration, while they were letting all of these unaccompanied minors into the country, and as we've talked about today, they weren't keeping track of them, they issued these kids a hotline that they could call if they had trouble with the sponsor family that they were put with, and you're saying that 65,000 calls to this hotline designated to protect these kids went unanswered? Is that what you're telling this committee?
Yes, sir.
By the way, let's stop right there. Back in a few seconds. I've had the whistleblowers on, correction, whistleblowers. Tens of thousands of children as young as 3 months old. How do they call a hotline? And then they would erase their records for the ICE and give it to HHS, even where they went. And now Kennedy's given that to the Justice Department and had meetings. So again, this is premeditated, not just losing kids, disappearing them on purpose. Continue.
Room at night, and they were touching him. Nothing happened with that call. That call went unanswered until this administration took office, went through those 65,000 calls, made follow-ups, conducted a welfare check, and now that child has been rescued and that sponsor has been arrested. These are the safeguards that were put in place, but accountability and oversight was not had. I said that it was easier to get a child, yes, than to adopt a dog. You actually had to provide more paperwork to adopt a pet from a pet shelter than you did to sponsor a child.
Simply put, under the Biden administration's open border policies, the government could only do so much to facilitate mass illegal immigration, welcome illegal aliens into the United States, and move them around the country. The Biden administration needed help. So they drove an estimated $6 billion to a conglomerate of 15 UN agencies and over 200 nonprofits, as recently calculated by the Center for Immigration Studies, to do the open borders work for them.
Abhorrent industry of child trafficking that prospered from the open border policies of the Biden administration for 4 years, 2021, 22, 23, and 24. Much to the chagrin of these people that made bank, man. We're coming after them. And this executive branch is building criminal files. So I hope they're watching, and I hope they're frightened, and I hope they're getting their affairs in order, hiring their liberal attorneys to defend them. Starting to shuffle their money around. We'll find it. Mr. Howell, are you aware that ongoing right now in our country, if DHS, ICE, FBI, local and state law enforcement agencies working on classified operations to locate, find, and rescue trafficked, tender age mostly girls. We're talking about girls under 14 and younger across the country that were trafficked into our country in 2021, 22, 23, and 24. Are you aware that those operations are ongoing?
Yes, sir. They're trying to find the children the Biden administration lost.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. Ms. Hopper, are you aware?
I am.
Mr. Rosas?
Correct. I'm aware.
Thank you. Would you be surprised that according to my research, which will very soon be revealed next week, they've rescued so far 35,000 tender-age kids. How you like that? Now, according to Ms. Hopper's research, which I find fascinating, and everybody up here should, 70% of the documentation turned in by so-called sponsors, which were lined up by who? The NGOs. Through who? Primarily HHS. It was a pipeline, man. We fed a pipeline of tender-age children into sex trafficking and slave labor.
One of the greatest failures in American history of the Biden administration, I believe,
Wasn't a
was
failure.
in not keeping track of
They disappeared them.
children. And
Just
it
like
wasn't
Crossfire
the
Hurricane.
folks that
It
sit
isn't
on-
they knew it was fake. They created it.
weren't made aware by people sitting on this side of the aisle that it was happening. And, you know, they failed to do anything or speak out against really this atrocity that was happening to the children that were coming through the border. So this hearing is about the enrichment of certain, NGOs and their part in this tragedy. But also one thing that we haven't talked about is really, not only did this administration enrich a lot of these NGOs, and I'm not painting them all the same. I'm Catholic, all right? So, and I'm a really good friend of our Archbishop in Miami, all right? We have dinner and all that. So I know the great work that they do, but I know there's also bad apples in there. But also the billions of dollars that flowed to the Mexican cartels through human trafficking. And all of it, and you heard, this is not the first time you're gonna hear me say it, was done on purpose. Because you can't be that stupid. You can't be that dumb. And so the Biden administration lost track of 300,000 people, children, all right? Probably lost track of millions of other people, migrants, in the United States as they were being trafficked all around. Some indentured servants, the children indentured servants, and even worse, in sex trade, all done on purpose. That has to be one of the biggest scandals in American history. And that's why my colleagues on the other side are running for the hills. But you can run, but you can't hide. And you can't justify the inexcusable.